With just 1 week left to go until the 2024 presidential election, Donald Trump has a 66% chance of winning. Kamala Harris at just 34. The former president holds a 32-point lead in the betting markets. On top of that, Trump also now leads in the national average. He's on track to win the popular vote by 0.2%, something no Republican has done since 2004. And just looking at how well Trump is doing right now, he is performing just as well as he was right before Joe Biden dropped out of the election in mid-July. I mean, think back to where we were at that point. It was so clear to everyone that Biden was on track for a loss. Trump was going to win this race in a landslide, and now, even though Democrats have replaced the candidate at the top of their ticket, Trump is back where he was 4 months ago. And so in this video, we'll be taking a look at the 2024 electoral map based on the betting market in each of the individual 50 states. Now, I've already filled in all the solid states. These are all races where either Harris or Trump have a 90% chance or more of winning. But there are 4 states I would like to highlight, 2 of them in the Midwest and 2 in the Sun Belt. Generally, these are likely Republican states, but Trump is doing so well that they've moved up into the solid category. Starting off in Iowa and Ohio, Donald Trump has a 95% chance of winning Iowa, a state he won in both of the last 2 elections, and one that he's going to win this time again. In Ohio, the former president has a 94% chance of winning. The Buckeye State is not flipping blue anytime soon. Down in Texas, this is a state Trump hasn't won by a double-digit margin yet, but this time he is on track to do so. The betting markets give him a 94% chance at victory. And then Florida, I mean, this is the most surprising one. If you went back to 1 week before the 2020 election when Joe Biden was on track to win Florida, and you told someone that Florida was going to be solid red in just the next election and red in favor of Donald Trump, nobody would have believed you. But that is simply what has happened. Republicans have transformed the Sunshine State. Donald Trump has a 94% chance of winning it for a 3rd time in a row. We're now going to move on to the likely states, races where either candidate has between a 70 to a 90% chance of winning. And we're going to start off with the 3 likely states for Donald Trump. These are races where his odds have surged incredibly in just the last 2 months. We're going to begin out in Arizona, where the former president has a 75% chance of winning. His odds are just as high as they were right before Biden dropped out. I mean, just 2 months ago in mid-August, this race was a complete tie between the vice president and the former president. But ever since, Trump's numbers have been climbing. He's been shooting up in the odds. He's also been surging in the polls. He leads by 1.5%. Every single recent poll from Arizona has shown Trump to be ahead. With the election just 1 week away, there simply isn't enough time for Kamala Harris to catch up. Now, Arizona is a must-win state for Trump. It is probably going to be one of, if not the most Republican swing state in the country. Only Georgia and North Carolina are going to rival it. And so Arizona is going to be likely red on the map. Donald Trump is the clear favorite. Next up in Georgia, we have another state where Trump has a 3 in 4 chance of winning. It simply isn't going to be close. Just like in Arizona, we've seen a huge surge for the former president in the weeks leading up to the election. Kamala Harris has no chance of defending a state that Biden actually won in the last election. Now, just like in Arizona as well, back in August and September, the state was supposed to be pretty competitive. 60-40 is very different from 75-25. 60-40 means that Trump is barely ahead, but at 75%, he is the undoubted favorite. And back in those months, Democrats and the liberal media were really propping Kamala Harris up. They were so confident she was going to win. Now, me personally, I've been pretty clear on this. I've been pretty consistent throughout the entirety of the election cycle. I've always had Trump ahead because even when Harris was leading, she was still performing so much worse than Joe Biden and Hillary Clinton did in the last 2 elections. And so Georgia is also going to be likely Republican. Trump leads by 2.3% in the polls. This is what I would call his second step to the presidency. It goes through Arizona first and then Georgia. If he doesn't win these 2 states, he really is finished. But looking at where we are right now, Trump supporters and the Trump campaign should be pretty confident that they're going to win these two states back. Before I continue, nearly 70% of you guys are not subscribed, so please subscribe right now for more content like this leading up to the election in November. And join my Discord server to participate in our 2024 prediction contest at discord.gg/elections. Moving up to North Carolina, we have another state where Trump's performance has been pretty impressive, especially considering what he's faced here. Mark Robinson, the Republican candidate for governor, is running a disaster of a campaign. He's been embroiled in so many scandals. He's going to lose by a double-digit margin, but Donald Trump is holding his ground. Even despite these challenges, he has a 71% chance of winning North Carolina. It really isn't a state he's going to lose. He won it in both 2016 and 2020, the only swing state he won in both of the last two elections. If he was able to hold it against Joe Biden, he's going to be able to hold it against Kamala Harris. The polling also shows Trump in a strong position. He leads by 0.8%. This might not seem like that much, but just compare it to where we were in 2016 and 2020. Both times, Democrats were on track to win by the numbers, but this time, things are very different. Trump has never been behind in the polling average in North Carolina, which is going to be the last likely red state on this map. We're now going to move on to filling in the likely blue states. We're just going to get the most obvious ones out of the way. New Mexico is going to go to Harris. She has an 88% chance of winning. In New Hampshire, she's at 79. This isn't even that good, because if you look at the new poll released today, Donald Trump actually led by 0.4% in the Granite State. If we get more data like that, New Hampshire will certainly flip, but as of right now, the vice president is still in a relatively strong position. In Maine, she has an 86% chance of winning, and then in the 2nd District of Nebraska, the odds for Kamala Harris sit at 86. So these three states in the 2nd Congressional District of Nebraska are all going to be likely for the vice president. Before I continue, I want to tell you guys about Polymarket, the world's largest prediction market, where you can track election results and instantly see who's leading. These odds react in real time to current events instead of days later like the polls. There's no bias or media spin, just pure data. Market odds reflect the collective analysis, beliefs, and wisdom of thousands of traders reacting to world events. Polymarket has also recently launched a mobile app where you can access their 2024 election forecast on the go. It's what I use every day to stay updated on the presidential race. Download it for free right now using the QR code on screen or the link in the description below. We're now going to pay the Midwest a visit, where Kamala Harris has just an 87% chance of winning Minnesota, even though she is running with Tim Walz, the state's literal governor. I mean, Walz won his re-election in 2022 by 16 points. Today, his ticket with Kamala Harris is leading in the state by just 4 points, in a state that Biden carried by 7 4 years ago. I mean, Minnesota wasn't even close last time around, and Kamala Harris was from California. Joe Biden had no connections to the state, and he's still performing so much better than Harris is today with Walz as her running mate. So Minnesota is going to be likely blue, but this is definitely not where she needs to be. And finally, in Virginia, this is the last likely state on the map. It's a state that Biden carried by double digits last time around, but Kamala Harris is going to be lucky if she even wins this state by 5. I mean, she has an 84% chance of winning. In terms of winning the state at all, she is definitely the favorite, but Trump is giving her a run for her money. I mean, when Joe Biden was still in the race, Trump took the lead in the polling average. She, at one point, just 5% separated the odds between him and the incumbent president. Now, with Kamala Harris on the ballot, Democrats are more likely than not to retain Virginia, but it's definitely going to be close. The state has taken a huge shift to the right in the last 4 years. I mean, just in 2021, 1 year after Biden's election, Republicans took the state's governorship, with Glenn Youngkin winning the first major statewide race in Virginia in over a decade. So Republicans have hope here, but for now, in this election, it is still going to be likely for Harris. We're now left with just the lean states, races where either candidate has between a 55 to a 70% chance of winning. These states are going to be incredibly competitive, and realistically, they could go one way or the other. Now, all the states we've already filled in, it is very likely likely that they're going to vote for their respective candidates on this map. North Carolina, Georgia, and Arizona are basically a lock for Donald Trump. So at this point, all he needs is one of the three hyper-competitive blue wall states: Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. Joe Biden might have won all three of them back in 2020, but all three of them did actually go to Trump in 2016 against Hillary Clinton. He's done it before, and he can definitely do it again. We'll begin in Nevada, where Trump's odds have shot up like a rocket over the last week. I mean, just 10 days ago, it was a 50-50 race between the two candidates. Now, it's a 66-35 race. Trump is the clear favorite. He has a 2-3 chance of winning a state no Republican has won in 20 years. I mean, Trump is doing incredible in Nevada, a state that he lost by 2 points to both Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden. If Trump wins Nevada, the election is over. Not because its 6 electoral votes are that important. They're not going to be enough to get him over 270, but if he wins Nevada, he is certainly going to win at least one, but probably all three of the upper Midwestern states. And so Nevada is going to be lean Republican on the map. Trump has a 2-3 chance. It seems like, based on the numbers right now, it's not even going to be that competitive. Next up in Pennsylvania, Trump is also in a very strong position here. It's a state that's been going back and forth between the former president and the vice president over the past few months. Basically, since Kamala Harris entered the race, it's been around 50-50 with no candidate ever getting above 60. But today, with just 1 week left to go, Trump has a 61% chance of winning Pennsylvania back, a state he carried by 0.7% in 2016, but lost by 1.2 in 2020. The polls also show Trump in a good position. He leads by 0.5% and is ahead in an overwhelming majority of the most recent polls. The polling has also been going back and forth between Trump and Harris here, but Trump has started to separate himself just a little bit with the campaign coming to an end. So Pennsylvania is also going to be lean red. Trump's performance in Wisconsin has also been incredible. Just look at how the market shifted over the last month. I mean, in September, it was a 60-40 race in favor of the Democrats. Now it's a 60-40 race in favor of the GOP. And for a while in August and September, Democrats were pretty confident about the election. They thought they were going to be able to win Wisconsin and Michigan pretty easily, also take Pennsylvania, but that was simply never going to happen. Even when Harris peaked in Wisconsin, when she led by 2 points in the summer, that was never enough. Just look at where Biden and Clinton were in the last two elections. Biden led by 6.4 in 2020. He won the state by 0.6. Clinton led by 6 in 2016. She lost Wisconsin entirely. With Trump now leading in the polling average, Kamala Harris doesn't stand a chance. The state is going to be lean Republican as well. And finally, in Michigan, we've saved the best for last. This is where Harris's fall has been most obvious. Michigan was on track to go to Harris by a huge margin at one point. She had a 2-3 chance of winning the Wolverine state. It wasn't even going to be close. Trump at just 33%. This was basically exactly 1 month ago. But look at where we are now, just 1 month later. Trump at 56, Harris at 46. I mean, Michigan is going to flip back into the Republican column. Trump leads by 0.1% in the polling. Yes, it is close based on the numbers, but once again, look at where the two previous Democratic nominees were at this point in the election. Trump was behind by 7 in 2016. Clinton lost Michigan entirely. In 2020, Trump was behind by 8.6. He only lost the state by 2.8. If Trump is leading in Michigan, just like in Wisconsin, Kamala Harris simply doesn't stand a chance. That's just how the numbers are adding up right now. Kamala Harris doesn't have the support to win a single swing state. There are 7. She is losing in every single one of them, and not even by small margins. All of them are lean or likely in favor of Trump. And so with exactly 1 week to go, Donald Trump couldn't be in a better position. He is peaking right now against Kamala Harris. He's never been in a better position since she entered the race as the presumptive nominee. Trump leads in all 7 of the swing states. I mean, typically, if a state is very close, Pauli Martin or Market and Brown, if neither Trump or Harris, have a 55% chance or more of winning. But Donald Trump has a clear lead in every single one. That is why they're all marked in some shade of red. And on the electoral map, we see Trump at 312 electoral votes, although he is also gaining ground in Minnesota, New Mexico, Virginia, and New Hampshire. In the next week, these states could potentially become competitive, but right now he has way more than he needs to re-enter the White House. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe right now for more content like this leading up to the election in November, and join my Discord server at discord.gg/elections.